Hey everyone, this is your girl Takesha with Talking with Flair. I want to thank you all for joining me. And here we are yet again. I'm really excited. Different ideas have been coming to me. I hope you enjoyed the last few episodes where I talk about from the pews to the profiles. I talk about tattoos and short hair don't care, and now we're talking about my journey and where I am as far as working with kids. So let me tell you why I never wanted to work with kids. I didn't think I would have the patience for it, that I wouldn't have the temperament for it, that I would not have the patience for it. Um, being a single parent, y'all, you tired all the time. And the last thing you want to do sometimes is be around other people's kids when you're doing so much and investing so much in your own child. And so I didn't think that was me. I honestly didn't. And my daughter, when she was in middle school, I've always been the kind of person where I'm coming to my child's school. I'm gonna pop up at the school. She wasn't gonna be the kind where she go to school, change her outfit, and do whatever she want to, and then change her clothes and come home. Not saying that she would do that, but I know kids do that. Kids do stuff, around other people that they wouldn't do around their own parents. And so her teachers and the staff at the school, I would come up there in full uniform, checking up on her like it didn't matter. If I was at work, if I'm on lunch, I had a quick time, quick break, I'm going to her school, see what's going on, how she's doing, how's her relationships with her teachers, how are the teachers' relationships with her. And I want them to see that I'm that parent. I'm that parent that cares. I'm invested in my child. And so with that, they were having PTA, and it was time for elections. So one of the counselors said, "Hey, I'm going to nominate you for PTA president." And I was like, "No, you're not. I'm not interested in that. Like, I'm already taking care of her, and I had several off-duty jobs, which is like part-time jobs." And I'm like, "No, I'm good. I'm good." So he kept telling me that. And then next thing I know, it was time for the elections. And when you do the elections, the people that runs, they come, they talk before the PTA members and tell them why they should be picked for that position. Y'all, I never showed up. I meant what I said. I'm like, I'm not doing this. How I still get voted as the PTA president and I didn't show up, but the other person did. Like, how sway? And what y'all say about me to make these folks vote for me? So now I'm in this position that I did not want to be in. And I end up doing it for 2 years. I came up with a lot of different activities and fundraisers that raised a lot of money for the school for us to do stuff for the kids, and activities that allowed the parents and the kids and the staff to, get engaged and get reinvigorated. And at the time, my assistant chief, he would volunteer at that school as well as his wife worked there. So he got to see firsthand what I was doing. So I was working background investigations and personnel. So I was one of the people that helped with the hiring of new police recruits. Loved that job. I mean, loved it. And he went to my captain at the time and was like, "Hey, offer Takesha this position. Let her know I want her to run our PAL program." I was like, I don't want to do that. I don't want to do that. However, I felt like I was between a rock and a hard place because it was like, dang if I do, dang if I don't. Because if I don't take the position, even though he's a good guy, still, I was like, I don't want to be put on midnights with jacked up days off when I had days and good days off. And I was like, if I'm gonna get them days, I need to earn them days. If I'm gonna get that time, then I need to earn it. So I accepted the position and I did PAL for 2 years. Had an amazing time doing it. However, I still did not want to work with kids the 2 years that I was doing it. Like, I was still in the mindset, like, I committed to the job, but I still was in the mindset that I don't want to work with kids. I don't want to work with kids. And so from there, the police department went to do a program that specifically target girls because we already had a boys program that was, literally for boys. And crime was just going higher that was involving young females. And so the police department wanted to take a proactive approach to it. And they wanted a girls program. I ended up getting that position. I had to apply for it and I ended up getting it. And so I came up with the name for the program. And so I was like, okay, I'm gonna stay in this thing. Now, y'all, I'm still in denial. We going in to year number 3, and I'm still in denial. I'm still sitting up here saying I don't want to do this job. I don't want to work with kids, but I'm having fun working with kids. I'm dedicated to working with kids. My mindset was still no, but my actions was the complete opposite. I was at war uh, with myself, and so the hardest part with working with kids is not always the kids themselves, but it's the families. Because when you take on children, you take on their families. And then a lot of times their families become your family. And having them to be invested into the programs. So I finally got to the point where I accepted what I already knew. I was just in denial. And I was like, Keisha, this is really, you really love what you're doing. You There's no excuse. You're having fun, you're enjoying bonding with these kids and doing these activities and growing with them and learning from them. And I realized too that that was my purpose. This is my purpose. This is a part of my purpose. And I need to stop fighting against it because God knows what's best for me more so than I do. And what I didn't think I could do, he definitely showed me. So that's how I fell into working with kids against my own better judgment and against what I felt like I wasn't going to be good at, that I wasn't going to do. And so here I am 12 years in, and I'm still working with kids and I love it. So, one thing about kids is they not only learn from you, but you learn from them. You learn a lot from them. You know, it's like, wow. I have enjoyed them pouring into me just as much as they poured into them. Working with kids has taught me patience, leadership, creativity, and even a lot of things about myself. And it's also helped me to be a better parent. I realize too, a lot of times we as parents, you know how you ask your kid why you do that, and then we get mad when they tell us they don't know. It was like, no, you gotta know. You gotta know. I know you know. We'll keep asking. We get madder and madder when they keep giving us the same answer. Well, y'all, let's be real. Kids don't fully develop their mental capacity and their brain until they're 26. So a lot of times when kids do things, it's not because they thought through the actions, it's because of what they felt when whatever was going on was going on. So I learned that instead of me asking my daughter why she did what she did, I asked her how she felt when she did what she did and what was the feeling she had prior to that. And then what was the thing that made her feel that way so we can delve deeper into the cause. And then what was the trigger? And then finding the solution. And then I wasn't frustrated. One thing I also find and found with kids is that kids will tell on themselves. My daughter got to the point where she would tell on herself. And those same kids would do the same thing. And they would come to me, Officer so and so, I did this and this, and I went off on my sister or I went off on my teacher, whether it was them going off or cussing or whatever. Kids will test you to see when you say you're going to love them, are you really going to love them unconditionally in spite of the terrible thing that they have done? Are you still going to feel the same way about them? They're looking for that. They're searching for that. They're needing that. And when you continue to love on them in spite of the mistakes that they've made, the poor decisions that they've made, you've reinforced the thing that you told them that you're going to do. And they'll continue to build that relationship and want that connectivity with you. And so That's changed my perspective on raising kids. I've also learned not to overcompensate because being a single parent, I found myself trying to do more than what I should have to where my daughter was starting to get a feeling of entitlement. And so I was like, she still needs to earn things because when she gets out here in the real world, they're not just going to give her anything because she raised by a single mom. It's not gonna happen. And so I had to back off on doing certain things and making sure she understood that not everything is gonna be given to you. You have to earn it. And then I also learned even more so not rewarding bad behavior. If you got a child that's acting out and doing things and acting a fool or just being disrespectful, why are you still getting their hair done? Why are you still getting their nails done? Why are you still getting them Jordans and Nikes and all this other stuff that's costing you money out of your pocket? Their grades are horrible. Like all of these different things. They're not doing their chores, but there's no consequences to the actions. There's no repercussions. You're teaching them that regardless of their behavior, they're still going to get what they want. That is not life. So I tell my parents, when your kids are acting a certain way, it is your job to feed them, to clothe them, and to provide the necessities: food, shelter, electricity, and support. But when I go get your nails done, I don't have to do that. When I go and get your hair done, I don't have to do that because at the end of the day, we can add some water, some cute little grease, moisturize that hair, put your hair up in a ponytail, some plaits. I don't have to buy you Nikes. We can be right over there at Walmart and Target and get them an outfit. They still can look decent, but I'm not going to spend $300 or $400 on you when your behavior, your attitude, your grades, or whatever is not reflecting what I'm pouring into you monetarily. And so because then you find yourself buying your kids. Why? Why? Why is that your ministry? You'll save a whole lot of money if you stop and think about that and be like, you know what? No, I'm not gonna buy you that. You hadn't earned it. You hadn't earned it. Nothing is given for free. So that's one of or several of the ways that I've been impacted by my journey with working with kids and spending time with them and just embracing everything that they brought to me. Because when they come to you, not you coming to them all the time, but when they come to you and they speak to you openly and they hug you and telling their friends, this my friend, this my mama, this my, whatever. Like that's a wonderful feeling, especially when you the police. Especially when you the police. And so it's in those moments I'm like, okay, okay, this is where I'm meant to be. This is where I'm supposed to be. This is where God has purposed me to be. And yes, I did that. Um, One of the big takeaways I got from this is sometimes the path you never wanted is exactly where you need to be. And have you ever had a moment where you fought it so hard, but things were happening in such a way that you finally were like, I'm supposed to be here? So y'all make sure if you had the moments, share those with me in the comments because I wanna hear about it. I wanna know that I'm not the only one that fought against their purpose and fought against something that somebody else saw in you. Because sometimes we don't see it in ourselves because we're too close to the situation. But when somebody else comes to you and they see it and they observe it and they embrace it for you, man, like that's a whole revelation right there. So, like I said, I never wanted to work with kids. I was like, nope, not me. I don't have the patience. I don't have the energy. And I don't definitely don't have the snacks. Okay, that's a lie. I always have snacks, but I don't like to share. People that know me know like when we sit down to eat, don't ask me for none of my food, my snacks, my appetizer. You had the same menu I had. You can order what I ordered. Like, no. So unless we pre-discuss how we gonna do this and we're gonna share appetizers, no, what Keisha ordered is for Keisha. So just thinking like that, like I sometimes act like I'm my only child and I'm far from it, but just you know get into that space and then kids opening up these things and I'm like, dang, here I am 12 years later and I have these many people because they're not tiny kids, even though I interact with the tiny kids because I deal with kids 10 to 18. But they're miniatures of us, who we are, where we're going to be. They give me hope because we see so much negativity all the time. But when I see them, I'm like, okay, I'm gonna be taken care of in my old age. Life, the world is not lost. There's still hope for all of us out there with these babies. And so I think about that. And today I just want to talk about how I ended up in a career I swore I'd never do. And, as an officer, you have so many different positions that you can go into and work. And one of them was school resource officer. And I was like, I never wanted to do that. And so God got me, y'all. He got me. He was like, that's okay. You don't have to be a school resource officer. You're going to be an officer that mentors full time. And I was like, oh, that's what we're doing now, Lord. Okay, okay, okay. And I just want to share like some things that I've learned along the way and how life has a funny way of putting you exactly where you said you didn't want to be, that you had no desire to be. And trust me, I do have some stories. I'm not going to share all of them today. Because if you've ever worked with kids, y'all, they will humble you. Kids will humble you. If your hair not right, your outfit's not cute. Y'all see, I like to get my nails done. If your nails not right, your makeup not right, like if you don't smell right, like if it's whatever, if your car is not looking good or you're messy or whatever, like kids have no filter and they will say their honesty can be refreshing as well. But they they'll crack you up and they will change you in ways that you never expected. And looking back, I laugh at how certain I was when I said, I'll never work with kids because here I am 12 years later, and kids have taught me patience, joy, resilience, and even how to laugh at myself. They've also taught me how important it is that when I'm going through life situations, they're more important than what I'm going through at that moment. Because kids go through a lot of the same things we do, and then we discredit them and act like they don't have the right to have emotions and feelings. Like it's some kids that's going through some traumatic situations. But then it's also some kids that feel like every situation for them is traumatic. And it's important for us to validate their feelings because at the end of the day, even if it's not traumatic for me, they still are feeling that way. And so I tell them it's okay to be hurt. It's okay to be angry. But how can we get through this? What are some ways that we can work this out? What are some alternatives? Giving them the tools to work through the situation, to survive and be resilient and thrive through it. And also for them to see that they're not alone. Like, you know, my brother's been in prison for over 30 years. I'm the police, and my brother has been in prison for over 30 years for capital murder. I love my brother, love him to death. He's a great person. He just don't make he didn't make a great decision. He was like 18 or 19 when he did that. That's a lifetime that's gone to waste that I understand by me sharing that with the kids sometimes, that I know what it's like to be a victim, because people always think, and it's true, the victim is not only the person that got hurt and their family, because their families are victims too. But victims are also the people that get hurt by the actions of their family members. I was 12. Me and my brother were close. We're 8 years apart. We were very close, and it broke my heart. It broke my heart to see my brother in shackles. One thing I will always be thankful for, and I think this is something that solidified my choice of wanting to be the police, because I wanted to be the police since I was knee high to a grasshopper. Like I was one of the kids that I always wanted to be police. The detectives brought my brother home. He was wearing a jumpsuit. He was shackled. They brought him home, explained to my parents what was going on, allowed him to see them, allowed him to see me before they took him to jail. Y'all, they did not have to do that. They did not have to do that. And the compassion that they showed, I'm trying not to get emotional, but the passion that they showed for us after he did this horrific crime. They understood that we wasn't the ones that did it. Like it was him. And for them to allow him to see us, for us to hug him, to love on him and let him know that we love him in spite of. No, we did not condone what he did, but the impression that those officers left on me is the very impression that I want to leave on the kids that I work with, that I come into contact with, that touch my life. I want to touch their lives in some way that is impactful in a positive way, that leaves a lasting impression and gives them something to reflect back on and think back on. And the truth is, sometimes the path we swear we don't want is the exact path that grows us the most. And I think that's the beauty of life. You know, it doesn't always go the way we plan, but it often takes us exactly where we need to be. And so if you're listening right now, if you're listening and you find yourself in a place you never imagined, don't fight it too hard. Don't fight too hard. And pay attention, because there just might be purpose hidden in the unexpected. Thanks for hanging out with me today. I hope my stories have made you laugh, made you think, made you reflect. I hope you learned something as an individual and as a parent, some things that that I said that may apply to you, some techniques, especially asking them how they feeling. Don't ask them why they did it. Ask them how they were feeling when they did it. And that way you can help understand their emotions and what led them to making the choice and the decisions that they made. And maybe it reminded you that sometimes never really just means not yet. Not yet, Keisha, not yet, but you're gonna do this thing. You might not want to do it now, but you're gonna eventually do it. And so until next time, keep growing, keep laughing, and keep showing up, even in the places you swore you'd never be. Thank you for coming with Talking with Flair with Takesha, and we'll see you next week.